Hi, welcome to Football and High Heels Present. I'm Sammy and I'm back and we're here to discuss football 3 weeks in a row. Shocker. And back with me I have Brian and Matt, who are two of my favorite guys. Also we needed the B-movie bros and the guys from my brother's wedding, and this would be the best thing ever. But at least I have two of my few favorite guys with me. Welcome again.
Thank you much.
Yes. And Brian has a special.
Figured I'd play the Pitt theme fight song in honor of their shellacking of Penn State this past weekend. I know you must be in misery, Sammy, being that you live in State College, but we kicked your ass and we looked good doing it.
All right, I give it to you. You did. You're not the first person to tell me that. One of our other mutual friends did tell me the same thing. But I was in Florida visiting my goddaughter for her first birthday, so it had no bearing on my life at all.
No bearing. Okay, well that's good. I mean, it was humiliating all week. They thumped their chest, acted like Pitt was no threat, no big deal. Just a meaningless game. Well, if it was a meaningless game against a meaningless team, then what does that say about Penn State when Pitt,
It was Pete.
yeah, spanked them.
It's true. It's true.
I just came from Millville Mayday, so I'm still trying to recover from that.
It was crazy. Did you watch the game, Matt?
I did not.
You did not watch the
I
game.
do catch all the highlights, although I do have to say it doesn't really matter if their name was Pete or not if they were spanking them so badly.
Honestly, the score did not reflect how lopsided that game was. Pitt really came out strong, and then they kind of sat on the lead. You know how people tend to do that, and that's when Pitt State started to come back. But realistically, it really was a pretty lopsided game. And I didn't really have a dog in the fight. I kind of wanted Pitt to win just because I get so sick of the arrogance and the conceit that just reeks from Happy Valley. And so I was happy to see that Pitt put them in their place.
All right, I can agree with you there. I live here, so I'm just gonna try to remain as Switzerland as possible. You know my feelings, but I didn't go to Penn State, so I don't have any loyalties one way or the other, but I do have to live here, so it's not as bad as it seems. People weren't as crazy as I thought they were going to be when I came back on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Tread lightly, Sammy.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
You gotta watch out for those people.
Yes, like all five of them that are watching right now, it's like they're going to be like, okay, at least I won't say anything about where I live or where I work.
She works at...
I work at a place that's a secret agent place, so nobody can find me.
Is that what it is?
Yes, that's what the kids are calling it these days. But anyway, speaking of football, NFL football this week kicked off, and it was absolutely amazing. First of all, let's start with the Giants game. Matt, you and I are big Giants fans, and they won by 1 point, and it was crazy. I swear, my Twitter and Facebook was going absolutely crazy because since I'm from New York, we have a lot of friends who are Giants fans, and what a game!
Absolutely, very entertaining. Way too close. Basically a classic Giants football game where they made it a lot harder than it probably should have been, but Dak played well for them, for the Cowboys, in a limited offense. But you only need 1 point ahead to win, so Giants did their job.
Yeah, they did, and I'm really happy they won because it would have been really embarrassing, and sorry to my friends that are Cowboys fans, it would have been really sad to lose to the Cowboys.
Certainly, nobody in Giants Nation wants that at any time, no matter what the health issues are.
Exactly. I mean, I don't understand the hatred for the Dallas Cowboys, but I do know that everybody hates them for whatever reason, and to lose to them is usually a huge embarrassment. So, I don't know. No offense to my Dallas Cowboys fans, but yeah, I'm glad the Giants won. Let's keep it at that.
Well, I'll just say that America is very good at both hating and loving winners. And
That's true.
The huge fan base from the 90s with the amazing run that they had made everyone major haters. So, in division rivals, we definitely hate the star on the helmet.
I can't say I blame them for that one, but yeah, and they are playing again. The Giants are playing on Sunday this week, right?
They are. Well, hopefully they'll keep this rolling.
I really hope so. But before we get to that, I do want to get Brian, Steelers Nation, Pittsburgh. What do we think about them winning?
I told you. I called it last week. I said that don't count this team out, even though they have, in my opinion, butchered their chances of winning the AFC through smoking the weed. They aren't out of it yet, and I thought they would win against the Redskins. I know you and I think we disagreed on this one, if I remember correctly.
No,
But
we agreed. We,
we agreed on that one. That's right. Okay.
yes.
But what I was surprised with was D'Angelo Williams, who really picked up the slack with 143 yards carried, and he really picked up the slack instead of Le'Veon Bell, who was out for smoking the doobie. But yeah, I was impressed, actually. They did better than I anticipated. I thought they would win, but I thought it would honestly be a closer game than it was. I thought it would go down to the last minute, but they proved me wrong, and they proved me right at the same time. So I guess that puts me somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, you're like Switzerland with this. You're like, you were right and you were right. So, and you were wrong at the same time. So,
Yes.
good for you for having Pittsburgh win, and good for you for actually predicting it correctly. Now, how do you predict for this week? They are playing. I have it right here. They are playing. Why aren't you
I
working?
believe they're playing Cincinnati, aren't they?
Yes, they're playing
Yes.
Cincinnati. Thank you.
I don't know.
No,
I think this will be.
yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, they are.
Yeah, I think this will be a tougher game for them to win. Historically speaking, it's kind of weird. The Steelers actually do better in Cincinnati than they do in Heinz Field, and the same with Cincinnati. They actually do better in Heinz Field than they do at home against the Steelers. So I don't know. I think you got AJ Green there. You've got some really good players. I'll be honest. I'll give this one to Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's going to win in week 2.
Yeah, what do you think, Matt?
Cincinnati's a strange team. They have a lot of talent.
Yes.
They seem to fall short for some reason. They don't win the big games. I don't know. You know what? I'm going with the Steel Curtain. I love the old school mentality team. They are a next man up, smack you in the mouth.
Next man up. Yeah, they always say that, but
you know what though? Their running game from this week just proved that, right? Who cares that they were smoking doobies? The next guy was up.
Next guy was up, but how long is that next guy going to last?
Well,
there's a reason why number one is number one.
They usually don't last that long in this league anyway, so it is what it is. That's a good thing about Tomlin is a hard-nosed guy, and he just yells his way to the next guy.
He's all full of cliches and all sorts of rubbish. Yeah,
but a lot of the football coaches nowadays do the same thing. So.
That's true. Fair enough.
Yeah, I can't really. I don't know. It seems like all the football coaches are of the same mentality. Obviously, they all want to win, but it's like some of them don't seem like they know what they're doing. I don't want to say they don't. I'll take that back. They don't. I don't want to say they don't know what they're doing, but sometimes it seems like they don't know how to make it happen to execute it.
I think Tomlin knows what he's doing. I just get sick of hearing the cliches. I mean, it's just like things like next man up. Well, if it was just next man up, then why would you keep the guy on top if they're all interchangeable and it doesn't really matter? I mean, there's a reason why there's a hierarchy to these things. And honestly, with the depleted roster that they have at offense, I think they'll still make the playoffs, but I think they'll be battling for the division, whereas before I think it was a sure thing, and I think they'll be lucky if they win the AFC, whereas before I think that would have been almost a for sure thing. I think it would have been between them and New England, and honestly I would have put the Steelers above New England given the Tom Brady suspension, but with all of the puffing going around, I think their chances have been greatly diminished.
That's true. That's true. And speaking of Tom Brady, he has been suspended for the first 4 games of the season, but the Patriots won even without him.
You and I disagreed with. We were on opposite sides of that one.
Yes,
I know that for sure.
Yes,
I called that. I told you. I said their offensive line gives their quarterback time. And actually this year they're more built on defense. So I don't think they're going to be in as rough shape as people think that they will be with Tom Brady being out.
Yeah, I think that they could play very well without him and still win. But like I said last week, it just seems like Tom Brady is the face of the team. So people automatically think that without him they're nothing. But
You
I
know
was
what? I
proved wrong. I
disagree
admit
with
it.
that remark. I disagree with that
Okay,
remark.
all right, Matt. I want to hear this.
Bill Belichick is the face of that franchise, and as long as that evil scientist is in charge, you can never, ever doubt them. As a Giants fan, I hate the Patriots, although I love facing them in the Super Bowl because for no reason we got their number. However, they are like the single best franchise in modern day football. It just is what it is. I can't ever bet against them. I expect them to go 3-1, 4-0 while he's out, and he's going to come back wearing Uggs and throwing touchdowns. What he does.
No, Matt is absolutely right. I agree 100%. Bill Belichick is a great coach, and as Mike Pursuta says of DVE all the time, the Steelers' flagship, if you ain't cheating, you ain't competing, and he has certainly mastered that. As well as putting together a great team. I mean, he does. He puts together a great team, and it's kind of crazy because this team does have this aura around them of being a group of cheaters. But how many of those Super Bowls do you think they wouldn't have won if they didn't cheat? Honestly, maybe one. I think they still would be one of, if not the greatest team of this era without all of the cheating. And to me, it's just ridiculous that this is still an issue. They're still out there cheating, but I don't know. It's a good team. They're gonna do well this year.
You're
Yeah,
not
I
shooting,
think
you're
so
not
too.
trying. That's
What's
Yeah.
that?
talk about cliches. It's the same. They have the same mentality of the next man up. You know, the whole thing of next man up isn't really obviously the first stringer has more skill, or he wouldn't
Oh.
be there, right? Just like you said before,
Well,
it's
it's easy
more of
to.
a necessity. They need to play somebody, and they don't have a choice. They got to perform. It's too much money on the line. Jobs are on the line. Next guy get up. You better perform, or I'll throw the next guy in there. And
It's
that's
easy
I mean, Belichick is great at that. He takes leftovers and throws them in there, uses their best skills, put them in the best position to win, and they kill everybody.
Very true, but it's easy to go with the next man up mentality when you're deflating footballs and taping practice.
Certainly, absolutely.
How do we always manage to talk about their balls in every episode, Brian? Every episode I'm with you, this is what we do.
How can you not? How can you not? They brought
His
that upon
balls are
themselves.
Yes,
his
they
balls
did.
are so saggy and weak. At least here in the Steel City, we got steel balls. You know, balls of steel.
This is a family show, and we can't wait. Hey, well, kids need to learn that this is what happens, and you have saggy.
Educational.
There's like a different topic we could talk about: the Steelers steel balls and the saggy balls of the Patriots. No demonstrations needed, thank you.
I wouldn't want to
hey,
break the camera.
I'm not gonna say a word. I won't say it. But anyway, and then the Giants. Let's go back to the Giants. They're playing the Saints on Sunday, and how do you think they're gonna do, Matt?
This is a terrifying game, in my opinion. You're facing a very prolific offense. Now, defensively, honestly, they don't bring a whole lot to the table up at the line anyway. But Breeze can throw the ball all over the place. So it's really a matter of did the Giants' defense actually show up or not? They actually played fairly well, but they can't give up some of the pass plays that they did to Dak.
You know, it's going to be an interesting game, but what do you think they could do to really step it up and get that win again?
Honestly, you know what? There's so many new guys. It's going to take time to learn the defense. It's going to take time to mesh. It took time the first time that Spags was here as the coach. It wasn't until they got out by the skin of their teeth against the Redskins that they actually looked like a real defense last time he was here. So it'll probably take a couple of games anyway. Just hopefully they won't get torched too many times. But again, if we have one more point than the Saints, that's fine. It really
As
doesn't
long as we
matter.
win.
It's all about logging wins, especially in the NFC East where they are always a very tight competition.
That's true. That's true. So I'm very excited to see what happens. So I'm going to have so many games to be watching on Sunday. I wish they wouldn't play them all at the same time. I mean, I know it's Sunday football, but it's like there's so many games I want to follow, but most of them are on around the same time. It's just like I wish I could have one of those things where I could just watch on different TVs or something because so much to follow. It's so much I want to see.
You're going to have one of the Vegas televisions with 30 games playing at the same time.
That would be awesome. If I could afford that, I would totally do it too.
Just go to the bar.
Yeah, I wish I could,
That's what I
yeah.
do. I go to the bar. I don't even have cable, but the bar has everything. So
I'd be just running around to each one like, okay,
actually,
yay,
you know what you
yay.
need to get is NFL Red Zone because they actually play
Mhm.
all of these scoring plays right there, and they usually have that on at least one TV at the bar if you head out.
That's a good idea. I think I'm going to do that.
Absolutely true. The only problem with that, although it's a great feature, the only problem with that is that you miss a lot of the great action that happens to put
True.
them in the position to score.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, that's great especially for like fantasy football heads.
Ugh,
Are you guys
don't even get
playing
me.
this year?
No.
No,
Oh, so just me. Okay. My first year playing and you guys aren't playing.
that's right. See,
I
the guys are on each other's side today.
That's right. I
We're with you.
detest fantasy football. To me, it is everything that is wrong in sports in today's culture.
Okay, I got to hear why.
Because there's no team loyalty. There's no loyalty to your city. There's nothing.
Absolutely.
It's just like for example, I heard one time, the Steelers, obviously their biggest rival is the Ravens. I've actually heard people say, "Oh, damn, the Ravens won, but at least so and so's on their team, and they're on my fantasy team." Well, who gives a shit about your damn fantasy team? It's all rubbish. I don't care. I don't care about your fantasy team. I don't care about any of that. I'm all about the old school rivalries, the real fan groups. It's like, like I'm a fan of Liverpool. I wouldn't support somebody who, like, for association football, I wouldn't support somebody who plays for, like, Man United or, for goodness sakes, Everton. I'm certainly not going to, as a Penguins fan, I'm not going to support Claude Giroux because I picked him for a fantasy team. Like, it's stupid.
And
I
what's your
agree.
opinion, Matt?
It definitely skews the lines for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, in the same aspect, like I'm not going to root for Des Bryant. Why? Oh, so the Giants are playing the Cowboys. So, the Giants lost, but hey, but Dez lit us up. Oh, that's great. To me, that's a double negative. I don't need to
Yes.
go and actually pretend that that's a good thing because I chose this arbitrary player that happened to be playing my team, and I actually put him in my lineup, which was basically betting against my own team.
Exactly. Wow. Thank you. It's awful. I hate the culture. I hate listening to it. And that's the thing, like, if you listen to sports talk radio, it's invaded sports talk radio, too. Even the people who hate fantasy football, they have to talk about it. So you've got at least once a week where you have to listen through some rubbish of some guy spewing off numbers of different players and who to pick and who to play and all this other crap that I just don't care about.
I play totally wrong, man. I just picked the players I thought were cute and put them in my lineup, and I'm like, I pick. I have no idea what I did, but I apparently ended up with a fantasy football team. I was trying to learn, but I gave up and just picked who I thought was cute instead.
You will probably win. You will
Probably.
probably win.
I mean, it's such a random thing. And another thing that I hate about it, and I think I definitely think that you will agree with me, Matt, on this one. You get a lot of faux GMs, people who think that they're so superior because they pick the right handful of players and, they could be a GM in the league and they know what the hell they're doing, when it's easy to look at a stat of numbers and put a bunch of people together. It's a different thing to actually pair up personalities and put a team together that's going to be cohesive. It's not all about numbers and stats, which any lame brain idiot can read from a piece of paper. It's quite another thing to look at personalities, look at pieces of a puzzle, and formulate a team that's going to be able to work together and move the franchise in the right direction. It's completely different, and these people think that for somehow they're mini GMs. No, you know who you are? You're a loser with a freaking keyboard. That's who you are.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, Brian.
Absolutely, totally agree. Not to mention that these fantasy leagues can be set up so that they're skewed towards running stats or catching stats. Whatever they want to do when they set up their league, they can go and set it up that way. So that's great. You have set up that your league is pure running stats, go and get you the most points. So you're going to take a trillion running backs in a football league that is skewed towards passing. So basically, you don't need to know what the hell you're doing at all. You just grab a bunch of starting running backs and go with it. That's great. That has nothing to do with real football. It's all basically gambling based. And that's exactly why the sports talk radio has embraced it, and that's why the NFL is going to embrace it too, because they are going towards that. They will have it totally interactive eventually, where you'll be able to probably bet right on your television while you're watching the NFL package, which I'm sure will look different at that point. Everything will go towards it because there's just too much revenue to be made, and people forget this is a business, and that's just how it is. These billionaires are looking to become trillionaires, and they will, because people love to bet. It's just how it is, and they feel like they are the GMs, so they allow them to feel that fantasy. That's the true fantasy of fantasy football. It has nothing to do with football at all. It's the fantasy of you feeling like you know what you're actually talking about and that you could be a GM. And, oh, look, we'll dangle some money in front of you. Like, here's the carrot. It's just like Vegas. It's built for more people to lose than win. So they're going to make their money off of it. You just wait.
There's a good Facebook meme out there that says that fantasy football is... It's basically Dungeons and Dragons for people who aren't good at fantasy or good at football. And I think that's probably the most accurate depiction I can come up with for fantasy football.
It makes sense, and the truth is out there. So I think after the season, I don't think I'll play again, but I figured I'd try it out because everyone keeps bugging me, Sam, you should try it out and see what it's about. And I did write several blog posts about it last year, but didn't have a chance to play. So I figure I have the app on my phone. It's free. I'll just push a bunch of buttons and see what happens. Who knows? Maybe I'll win.
Hey, it's worth a shot. I mean, anybody can win.
Yeah, Sam, don't be shamed out of it. It's okay. We will support you. You have a support group.
I don't know about that.
Honestly, if you want to embrace fantasy football, what it's really for is so that you can talk smack to your friends. That's all it really is. You just can't take it too seriously because it is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we hear, like DraftKings and all these other things. You're not stuck with a whole team. Because it's true, you might draft somebody who's great and they break their ankle week 1, and then your entire season is screwed. That's
you just turned into a
closest part to real football that it is. Because that really does happen in real football, but that's about where it ends too. So you just got to look at it as it's just fun and it's a way to talk smack to your friends. But
yeah, definitely.
It's very little of real football.
That's what I figured, but I'm just having fun now, and I'll just see what happens.
In fact, you know what? They just changed, actually. I don't remember what it is, but one of the qualifications for telling how players are, I'm not sure. Maybe you guys know, but I don't know if it's questionable or likely to play, whatever the qualification was. But it's pure gambling. It's purely for gambling.
Yes, I saw that. I didn't understand it, but I did see that.
Yeah, they act like it's like they're helping the product, but all it really is that's completely skewed for the gambling.
Matt, so I want to know about your head coach up in the Giants. Do you watch any of his press conferences? Our
new coach, McAdoo?
Yes. McAdoo, yeah, Ben McAdoo.
Yes, he is trying his best imitation of Bill Belichick, I think. Which is okay and can work being short with the media as long as you're winning.
Does he even? So that's his thing. He's short with the media.
Well, he has been thus far. I mean, to be fair, he's only had one actual regular season week.
Okay.
But thus far, he's usually very to the point with his answers. No real fooling around. It's kind of like this is what it is, and that's it. Move on. But we'll see how long that lasts. Again, if you're losing.
Sure. Are you familiar with the obviously montage?
I am not.
No, I'm not either. Tell us about that.
I have it right here.
Good afternoon. From a passing game standpoint,
Mike Tomlin.
They've got some threats out there as well. I don't know the status of Santonio Holmes, but obviously he's a known commodity, and we'll push forward toward the weekend, obviously with an eye toward getting the healthy ones ready to operate.
Mike Tomlin is obsessed with the word.
Obviously. Team. We got to do a better job. Obviously,
listen to any of his press conferences. It's all year, nonstop. Especially if he's losing and he's nervous. Just obviously. I feel like
we should take a shot every time he says it.
Well, that would be fun. Yeah, they have this montage on YouTube. They actually compiled all of his obviously remarks in one press conference, and Right now I'm looking at 12, 13, 14, 15. He just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. It's great.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But before we get into the rest of what's happening this week in football, I want to talk about this whole thing with the national anthem. We discussed it a little bit last week, Brian. Matt, do you
Yes.
have any opinions on it?
Okay, so I've been warned to tread lightly on this subject, so I will try to as best as I can.
Thank you, Devin, but go ahead.
Yes, my wife is quite clear about this. So anyway, I would say my best part of this subject is I would never not stand for the national anthem. I think that it's just something that you need to do, but that's my opinion. At the same time, they certainly have the right to go and protest. I just believe that they're going about it the wrong way. I kind of fall along the same lines. Chris Long, Patriots, talked about this week. He went and he was basically saying that he shows support. They have the ability to protest. He supports their protests. He can't live in their shoes. However, he would always stand for the national anthem. I pretty much feel the same way. I really don't like what they're doing, how they're doing, understand their point, not even bad-mouthing their cause. Again, I just don't like the way that they're going about it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Brian and I were saying last week. It's great that they want to protest and get their point across, but there's a time and a place for it. And I think doing it during the national anthem is in very poor taste because that's something where you're supposed to be respecting your country, and that's just a blatant disrespect and a slap in the face to our country. So, yeah, I agree with you there, and there's definitely a better way. Okay.
I disagree. I feel there is a clause under the CBA that says conduct detrimental to the league. This could drive away fans. This could piss people off. You have the right to freedom of speech, but you don't always have the right to freedom of speech under your employer. Yes, the government cannot go in and tell you that you cannot say this or that, but your employer can. You're there, you're on the clock, you're on the sidelines, you are under the umbrella of the NFL, you're receiving a paycheck. The NFL has every right to tell you that you can or cannot stand or sit during the national anthem. I think that's a reasonable thing to expect.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm not disagreeing. And I would know if I would do something that my employer would disagree with, I would be warned about it, and if appropriately, fired. And I think that the NFL does need to take action in this if they feel it's inappropriate and it's not the time or the place to be protesting.
Yeah, this is another one of those tread lightly things, I think. I'm sure there are lawyers talking back and forth. You are absolutely positively correct. They are in work uniform as well. That is something that people talk about. You know, I mean, there are so many countless. Go on YouTube, you can find videos. I remember a woman saying something when she was wearing a Subway shirt, and she went and spoke out. I believe it was a Black Lives Matter issue, and she was canned the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because she doesn't have the right to speak, but you are representing a business at that point. Now, Colin Kaepernick can go and speak in interviews when he's in his civilian clothes. He can go and talk to whomever. He can march. He can have whatever feelings. The difference is when he is at work, he is now speaking on the owner of the 49ers have that forum, gives him that forum. Now, you're absolutely correct. I would not be surprised one bit if Goodell used the protection of the shield to go and lay the law, per se.
He's not going to the...
I'm sure he won't, because you're talking about a league that is, 70%, maybe more, African-American. You're talking about many fans who apparently agree with their stances. And also... a lot of these places, they just don't want to piss anybody off. They want to stay real even keel, appeal to all fans, so they tend to say nothing. They say a lot by saying nothing.
That's true, yes.
And again, it's not that I necessarily agree or disagree, but there are certainly different ways that they can go with it. Whether or not people have the right to say something, yes, but they also have to remember that there are consequences to doing so.
Exactly, because apparently your dog agrees too, or some dog
fully agrees.
Not to bring politics into this, but the NFL has said nothing when Colin Kaepernick decided to not stand during the national anthem, but they banned pro police officer helmets on the decals on the helmets that supported police in Dallas. So, and then they also caused an issue with the sneakers the cleats that were available to support 9/11. So to me, they're trying to be politically correct, and to be quite honest, they're making a stance that I think is dangerous, and I think very well could alienate their fan base, because let's be honest, most of these NFL players are flag-waving, hillbilly-type people, a lot of them. I think they're more likely to be more pro-police and pro-national anthem, pro-9/11, supporting those victims, than they are somebody not standing for the national anthem. And to not stand for the national anthem, they say that they're targeting the government, but a lot of the fan base of the NFL views it as a target on the military and among their families. And so I think it definitely goes beyond just not. It is just, in the grand scheme of things, who gives a shit if somebody stands or sits during a song? But I can understand if I was in the military, or if somebody who I loved was in the military, I could understand their disappointment and their aggravation with the whole scenario.
Exactly. I was actually going to bring up that very topic, Brian. Thank you. With the whole 9/11 thing and the pro-police, that a lot of people were they were told not to do it. Was it Dallas that did it? It was Dallas.
It was Dallas, right? Yeah, but it's okay
That's
to wear socks. It's okay to wear socks on the field that depict pigs as cops as pigs, but it's not okay to wear a decal on your helmet that says you're in favor of police. What the hell kind of league do we have running American football?
It's also not okay to wear cleats depicting the fire department or police or
exactly
or the towers or the flag. Now they actually chose not to fine Cruz and ODB, which was the smart move. Certainly, especially in New York, where that touches much closer than it may somewhere else.
And you and I both have personal experience with that, Matt, because we're both from New York.
Right. I mean, especially for a New York team, they should really just learn to just bite their tongue.
Exactly.
Because we are going to have much more strong views than you may in like the middle of the country, for instance.
Yeah, and I was very disappointed with the way that was handled. And I know actually a lot of people are protesting against it by not watching NFL games and ceasing their support of the NFL, and I actually understand because it's really disappointing. Like I said, I'm originally from New York like Matt, and I was directly affected by 9/11, and I have cops in my family, a lot of firefighter friends, and it just really upsets me that these people are trying to be nice and show their support, especially since the games were played on the 15th anniversary of 9/11, and they had every right to show their support, and I thought it was a very nice gesture for them to show their support during that, especially since it is a big anniversary. But, of course, they had to go against it and tell them they're not allowed, but this person's allowed to sit down during the national anthem. So the way it's skewed really upsets me, and it really bothers me. And I hope more people will bring this up and more people talk about it. That way we can bring awareness and hopefully avoid stuff like this in the future.
I agree, but let's be honest, it's really not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. There's a mayor in Maine who, and I talked about this on my show multiple times, there's a mayor, his name is LePage in Maine. He openly advocated for the discrimination of minorities, and one of his quotes was, and I'm paraphrasing here, minorities and people of color are the enemy, and the good guys are in blue, the bad guys are in red, and you shoot the guys in red. And that's a story that came out the same time as the Colin Kaepernick sit-down, and yet somehow Colin Kaepernick is trending on Facebook. The governor of Maine is completely absent from the media, from coverage, from people's interests, and to me, that's a much bigger deal. But we're so obsessed with this sports culture and constantly being entertained that some guy sitting down for a song is somehow more important than a governor, an elected official with real power, openly advocating for the discrimination of minorities.
That's really dangerous. I mean, I really didn't hear much about that story you're talking about, Brian.
That's my point.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
this
we
is
didn't hear about that.
Listening to my wife right here. She would be all over that and on your team, giving you a high five right now. Yes. She doesn't understand the sports culture, and I try to explain to her that the reason is basically it's because they entertain us.
Yes,
Like, she's a
exactly.
teacher. She'll never make. She probably has 1,000 times more, if not more, whatever hyperbole you want to add to it, more important job than Colin Kaepernick or any of these football players. They're playing a game, but the difference is they entertain us, and so therefore they become millionaires, and others aren't compensated that way. And it's really sad because stories like that are completely buried.
Yes.
It's disgusting, and I think we need to bring more awareness, especially since this is an election year, and I totally broke my promise that I would never bring politics into the show, but
Well, you brought me onto this show, so what do you expect?
yes,
You know
you're
what? When
lucky.
there's the protests like this, it's impossible to
That's
skate
true.
around it because it
Yeah.
is political. It really is.
It
It's
really
more than just
is.
polarizing because it's the flag or the anthem. It's more than just like a single team or a couple of guys that you can point at and say, shame on him because he took a knee. It really is a huge, wide-spanning social and political issue where people are going to fall on both sides, and some people can see both sides. I mean, I understand both sides of it, but people are going to be really pointed towards one side or the other. They're going to be really shouting from the rooftops, no, that side is wrong. It's just how it is. It's a very polarizing topic, and it is political. It just is.
Yeah, so there's really no way to avoid it. So I'm sorry for those of you that I broke my promise of not speaking politics, but this is something that really is a political and social issue. So, and I think we really made our points here. So moving on to another topic before Brian gets all riled up again. I love you, but I love you, but I don't want you getting all riled up. My brother would never forgive me if something happened to you.
Well, it's middle
Matt,
of
you
May
don't know
Day,
this, but
so
him and my brother are really good friends, so.
yes.
You guys were roommates, right?
We were last year. Paul was actually the first friend I made at California University of Pennsylvania. So.
That's right, yeah. I remember
Very
he was always
nice.
talking about you guys, that whole
Mm-hmm.
group, yeah. But anyway, I do want to bring up another topic before we run out of time. We discussed this a little bit, Brian. Penn State, again, our favorite topic.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Paterno Day and the honoring of Joe Paterno. And you posted a very interesting article about this that was actually written by the Collegian, which is run by Penn State students.
Yes.
And they're basically saying we really need to move on from the issue, and honoring him right now is really, I don't want to say they didn't really exactly say it was inappropriate, but there was really no reason to honor him since it's been so long, and the students coming in really don't know the impact he's had on football.
Yeah, it's for the donors. And real quick, just to point one thing out. Just wanted to throw that out there again.
Salt in the wound.
Yeah, the salt in the wound. But no, yeah, it's inappropriate. It's disgusting. I mean, we've got the administration at one point saying it's unfair, it's not nice, it's mean that people who are going up against Penn State, like Pitt, are using the Sandusky situation as a recruiting tool. But what do? They decide to honor a guy who decided to look the other way. What do you expect? You're putting it out there. You're putting it out there on a platter, just waiting for your enemies to devour. The best thing that Penn State could do is to pretend like Joe Paterno never existed. Move on. Act like he never existed and start over from scratch. But the moment that you bring his name back into conversation, you bring in the entire scandal and you bring in everything that he allowed to occur. Joe Paterno was rotting in hell for what he allowed to happen in the locker rooms at Penn State.
Matt, rebuttal?
You know what? I'm completely on your side, except for one thing.
Okay, what's that?
They cannot ignore his existence. And the reason why they can't is because he is the only part of success that they have ever had. That's the problem. So what are they going to sell? We have done nothing without Joe Paterno.
That's
Like,
true.
I met Joe Paterno. He was very nice to me for the whole, 3 minutes that I interacted with his very old self.
He's really
It does
nice
not
to you,
erase
but
the fact that he is a god there, and there is absolutely positively no way that he didn't know when somebody farted in that town, let alone what was going on in his facility. So he should absolutely be ashamed of himself for what happened. That being said, if they're going to go and honor him, they absolutely open themselves up to the criticism on the other side of it. So, you want to go and cheer him for a lot of good that he did, you go right ahead. But that you cannot ignore the very bad that happened during his time span there as well. You can't have it both ways.
Patty was real nice to you, but if you were in a locker room alone with Sandusky, how nice would he have been to you at that point?
Well, it wasn't Sandusky who was nice to me at all. It was Joe. Well, I'm sure Joe would have been fine with me because I don't think that was his thing. Sandusky.
No, but my point is he may have turned the other way.
Without a doubt, he absolutely, positively did.
And you're right.
Frankly, because he turned the other way, he's just as guilty.
Exactly.
I'm totally with you.
And Franco Harris and all of his friends who want to blame the victims and look the other way, they are almost as guilty as Joe Paterno himself in turning the other way for child rape.
Oh, it's an absolute joke that somebody would try to go and make excuses. I mean, you're
blaming the victims. They blame the victims now.
Yeah, that's absolutely shameful. Absolutely shameful. I think that the problem with that is, like you said, it's all about who's giving them funding.
Yeah.
And those people clearly loved him. They gave lots of money under his regime, where most of them probably knew what was going on too. I mean, these things couldn't have been too secretive.
Yeah, I agree.
There was way too much smoke there to not know that something was burning.
People just disgusting. It's like everything for the almighty dollar, but we blame the victims.
And that's what this is about too.
And it's disgusting.
You nailed it, Sammy. It's all about the almighty dollar. They want to court these big money donors who are going to come back, and they're upset because Joe Pa isn't getting his due. So they're trying to bring him back into the scenario. And to be quite honest, in my opinion, Penn State should have been given the death penalty in the NCAA because those people in Happy Valley, those super Penn State fans, they still don't realize what's been going on, and they probably never will. They're still drinking the Kool-Aid.
Absolutely. They're all wearing beer goggles over there.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Scary.
I know in high school, I went to football camp there. That was like one of the best ones run in the country. I thought of that as like an honor to go there. It's linebacker But, of course, nobody outside of that town knew what was going on at all either. It had my parents ever known that, my lord, my mother wouldn't have driven me there by any means, So, I mean, you know what? If like we said, if they're going to honor him, they have to understand that there's going to come criticism. I mean, with all that was done under his watch, why don't they put a Sandusky trophy up right next to him?
Don't give him any ideas.
That's
just
great.
own it.
That's I love that idea. Put a Sandusky statue right up next to Paterno, and maybe put it like in his blind side.
Yeah, maybe he can hold and dangle keys to the locker room in one hand or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's really highly ridiculous. What happened there is absolutely positively disgusting, and like you said, they either have to act as if nothing ever happened, or they just have to own it. Because, quite frankly, like you said, they should have had a death penalty. It's a joke.
It is. And
they should. It's not a given that you have a football program.
And I agree with you 100%, Matt. And maybe I can clarify my statements. I don't think that they should forget about him as in erasing history. I think that they should own it, as you have mentioned, but then move past it. They're not
exactly.
Paterno's team any longer. And I think that's kind of where maybe what I said didn't come across the right way, but I think that's really what I mean is they need to move past it and say we are Penn State. We had great athletes, we had great people here, and we're going to remain great in the future. But again, Pitt just wiped the turf with them, so maybe they're not as great as they think they are. Maybe Pitt's just really better than I think they are.
Yeah, it's scary because if they're going to ignore something big like this, what's to say they're not going to ignore something bigger the next time? How do we know something else isn't going on, not just with Penn State, but with other things and schools as well? I mean, I've got personal experience with things like this, where things were swept under the rug, and it's amazing how people ignore things that they don't want to see, and it scares me. If they're going to ignore something like this, what's to say something bigger and more dangerous isn't being covered up?
Yeah.
Well, the sad thing is, it most likely is. You hear stories about this all the time.
Well, I don't know if you know this, Matt, but being that you live in New York, but this Sandusky scandal went beyond Penn State. It actually went up into Harrisburg, into the state government here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
I was not aware of this. I'm not overly surprised because, again, Joe Pa was one of those guys who was more powerful than the governor. So I'm sure he could make a phone call and make something disappear.
Well, there are
That's what
rumors
scares
that
me.
former Governor Tom Corbett, then Attorney General Tom Corbett, delayed the indictment and the investigation of Sandusky in order to not lose Penn State voters when he was running for governor. That is a rumor that there is some teeth to. So
That scares me.
I can't even say that's even surprising because politics is very ugly.
Yeah.
Very, very ugly.
And it makes me sick that someone would do that. They would put something like that above the life of a child and the welfare of a child. And I hope that rumor is false. But like you said, there's some teeth to it. So I have a feeling it's true, and it just makes me so sick that someone would do this. And I do want to say one more thing. I appreciate, like I said, what Joe Pod has done for football, but why are we honoring so much? He coached football. He didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize. He didn't fight or serve our country. He's not a firefighter or a cop or anything. So what is it about football, particularly college football, why we're holding him up as a demigod rather than just seeing it as it is as a football coach?
Oh, I don't know. All I know is he was actually the number one choice for the Pittsburgh Steelers to be their head coach. He turned them down, and we got Chuck Noll, and I'm not saying that I'm upset with that scenario and how things played out in that scenario.
I thought you were going to say Chuck Norris for a minute. I'm like, that would have been an awesome coach.
That would have been awesome. Yeah, that would. I mean, I don't know how good we would have done as far as football goes, but at least we could have said Chuck Norris was our coach. We did have Herb Brooks for hockey, and that's pretty badass.
They would have had some great slogans, that's for sure.
Yes.
The memes would be epic.
Oh my God!
Somebody needs to make this happen. I mean, I know Chuck Norris
is still alive. It could happen, you know. Give Tomlin a couple more bad seasons, and unfortunately, the Rudies never fire anyone. But if they would, who knows?
You know what though? That is one of the reasons why they are such great owners.
Yeah.
That is an underrated thing because it takes a number of years to go and build something up. You hire a coach, you give them 2 or 3 years and fire them. I mean, if they're successful with the previous regime's players in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, it really, that's something the Giants share that trait. We've only had a number of coaches. There's something about loyalty. There's something about giving, a 10-year span. You could be driven crazy by a coach without a doubt, but at least you actually get a true measurement of leadership during that amount of time instead of such a short span.
Well, look at Cleveland. Just to prove your point, how many coaches they've had in the last number of years.
I mean, they're so poor they had to revert to a baseball man in order to try to turn things around.
Yeah.
Most football people don't think he knows what he's doing. But again, we won't know that for a number of years.
Sure.
So.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
And I'm sure you want to move on from Penn State, but let me just say one other thing before we do. Sure. If they really want to go and move on, it's as simple as recruit better. Honestly, just recruit better. You should just say, we're the new Penn State. We're all about football. Recruit better, start winning, and people won't worry about the past. They'll just say, you know what, that was really ugly, but thank God that our team is no longer run that way. We're winners. Until you start doing that, you're just going to keep getting spanked by teams like Pitt. And it is what it is, You can't live in past.
No, you can't. I think that's the thing. Now, to quote Elsa, they just need to let it go, let it go. But yeah, that's never going to happen.
You're right. Not only do they need to win, that's number one, but they also need to stop having things like Joe Paterno Day. And to your comment on Pitt.
Nice.
Just have to.
I
Just
know.
have
I
to
was kind of looking forward to
you know.
listening to Brian sing the next verse or something. You know?
Football and high heels idol. We'll make it a thing.
That's right. Maybe next week.
Yes, I actually want to invite you both back next Thursday to discuss this week and what's coming up next week because it's just going to be absolutely amazing. And we are almost out of time. Real quick, who do you think is going to win for your team? I know we all want to win, but who do we think's actually going to realistically win?
Giants Saints. I'm going to say the Saints are going to probably win.
Okay, Brian?
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say the Giants. I don't know why. I just have a feeling.
What about
Just
the
got a
Steelers?
feeling.
What about the Steelers game? Steelers versus Bengals. Who do you think is going to win?
I know we've already discussed this. We're on opposite sides of the coin there as well. I think the Bengals are going to win.
And I am with the Steel Curtain.
Yeah, all right. Actually, we do have a game going on right now. We have the Bills and the Jets, which for us New York people is absolutely crazy to having two New York teams play against each other. Let's check in and go to the videotape and see where they're at. And it looks like they're delayed. I thought the game was supposed to start earlier, but now it's starting at 9:20. I guess there's bad weather in New York.
Well, it looks like they may have had a delay or something because I'm seeing that it's 8:45.
And now it's been pushed down to 9:20. But real quick, I know we both like the Bills. Matt, who do you think's going to win this, Jets or Bills?
You know what? There's no telling. I got to be honest with you. They both have to win this game. It's just.
It can't be a tie.
I know it's like the craziest answer because clearly they both can't, but they both have to. Rex has to start winning, or he is out of a job. Because again, there are no teams in the NFL. And the Jets are way too good of a team, talent-wise, to be an 0-2 start. So I don't know who's going to win, but somebody's better step up.
Yeah, and didn't Rex coach the Jets at one point?
He certainly did.
He certainly did, right? Yes.
Regime.
And I remember last year when this was all happening, my friend and I were discussing it. It was like, yeah, it was pretty awkward when his new team won against his old team. That had to be really awkward for him.
Well, let me tell you, he will no doubt be gunning for them. I have no doubt about it. That is something that Rex is that kind of guy. He would rather, I'm sure, win the two games that he plays versus the Jets than against anyone else.
Any other team.
If he only won two games during the year, as long as they were both against the Jets, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he's happy with that. He'll be unemployed, but I'm sure he'd be happy with that.
Yes. I like him, though. I don't want him to be unemployed, so I guess I have to cheer for the Bills.
Hat. He's the John Tortorella of the NFL. He's a media guy.
At least John said you either stand or you don't play.
That's true. He did say that. I'll give him credit for there.
Yeah, give him credit where credit's due, honey. So, Brian, who do you think is going to win in tonight's game?
I'm going to go with the Jets. I don't know why. I mean, I just the Bills just never impress me. I don't know. It just seems like there's nothing that they do that ever. And I mean,
they're just there.
Yeah,
Rex screwed that team up.
He did, and they were already screwed up before him, and they brought him in.
But at least their defense was quite skilled before he showed up.
Yeah, I got to give him that.
Defense and said, "Oh, you're really good at playing one way. I'm going to take your entire personnel and make you play a different defense, and you'll just work because I'm a genius." And
yeah,
that's clearly not true. You've completely screwed them up, and now they're futile on both sides of the ball. So congratulations. You could have gone to a team that at least had a quarterback. But no, you didn't go to Atlanta. You went to a team in the division that you had already left, which, by the way, is ruled by the Patriots, so you're extra dumb by choosing that team. Basically went to like the same team with less skill and ruined the best part of them.
Are you familiar with his foot fetish?
I am most certainly familiar with foot fetish.
Yeah, Rex Wright is a foot fetish, and there was a meme going around whenever we played them in the AFC Championship that said that Rex Ryan's favorite player, Steeler player, is Larry Foote, and had a picture of Larry Foote with like a giant foot. It was excellent.
Very nice. Yeah, well, his foot fetish is quite ironic because I am predicting that at the end of the season he's going to get the boot.
Love it.
That was good. That was good. I like that. But anyway, we are out of time, and I had a blast with you two. Are you guys both free to come back next Thursday to talk?
Yeah,
Sounds
absolutely.
good to me.
Great. Same time, same place. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been Football on High Heels Presents, and we hit every topic other than football and still managed to talk about football today.
That's right.
Good night. Good night, you guys.
Good night.